Hello, my buddy. Welcome back to English with Luna. I'm really happy you're here today because if you clicked on this episode, it probably means something very simple. You want to improve your English, but you also want to do it in a way that feels calm, focused, and real. Not rushed, not stressful, not overwhelming. Maybe you've tried studying English before in a very intense way. You opened 10 tabs, downloaded 5 apps, watched grammar videos, wrote vocabulary lists, and after 3 days, you felt exhausted. Or maybe you're the opposite. Maybe you love podcasts, you love listening, but sometimes you wonder, is this really helping me speak better? Or am I just listening passively? And today, I want to talk about something very specific. Learning English with podcasts, but with intention, with deep work, with presence. Because there is a huge difference between hearing English and training your brain to think in English. And if you're someone who wants to improve your conversation skills, not just understand, but actually speak, then this episode is for you. Today, we're going to explore how to use easy podcasts in a powerful way. Not in a complicated way, not in a you need 3 hours per day kind of way, but in a realistic adult life way. The kind of way that fits into your routine. The kind of way that helps you build fluency slowly, naturally, consistently. So take a deep breath, relax your shoulders, and let's start learning in a different way today. Let me tell you something that almost nobody says. Listening to English every day is not the same as improving your English every day. And that can be frustrating because maybe you've been consistent. Maybe you listen to podcasts while cooking, while driving, while walking to work. Maybe you even understand 70%, 80%. And still, when it's your turn to speak, your mind goes blank. You know the words, you've heard the structures, but when you open your mouth, it doesn't come out the way you imagined. And then the doubt starts. Maybe I'm not good at languages. Maybe I started too late. Maybe I just don't have that talent. But the problem is not your intelligence, and it's not your age, and it's definitely not your accent. The real problem is this. Most people consume English passively. We treat podcasts like background noise, like music, like something that is good for us just because it's in English. But our brain is very smart. If it feels that something is optional, secondary, or just entertainment, it doesn't go deep. And conversation requires depth. When you speak, your brain has to choose vocabulary, build grammar, pronounce, think about meaning, and manage emotions at the same time. That's a lot. So if your practice has been mostly passive, of course speaking feels hard. It's not because you're failing, it's because you're training one muscle and expecting another one to grow. And I know something else. Many of you are busy. You work, you study, you have responsibilities. You don't have 2 free hours every day to sit with a notebook and study properly. So you try to do what feels possible. Just listen. And listening is beautiful, it's powerful, it's necessary. But without intention, it stays on the surface. So today we're going to change that, not by adding pressure, not by adding more hours, but by changing the way you use what you already do. Because the goal is not to study more, the goal is to study deeper. So how do we turn a simple podcast into real conversation training? The answer is not complexity, it's depth. Most people listen once and move on. New episode, new topic, new vocabulary. It feels productive because it feels fresh. But fluency is not built on constant novelty. It's built on repetition with attention. So here's the shift. Instead of consuming many episodes, choose one. One easy podcast episode, something slightly below your level, something you understand comfortably, not something that makes you feel lost. And instead of listening while doing 5 other things, sit down. Yes, sit down. even if it's just 15 minutes. That's your deep work moment. No phone scrolling, no multitasking, no distractions, just you and the audio. First listen, just absorb, let it flow. Don't stop, don't translate, just follow the ideas. Second listen, now your brain recognizes the structure. Now you start noticing patterns, expressions, transitions, the way sentences connect. And then comes the powerful part. Pause. Repeat one sentence, not perfectly, not dramatically, just naturally. Copy the rhythm, copy the speed, copy the melody of the sentence. This is shadowing, but intentional shadowing. You're not just repeating sounds, you're teaching your brain how English flows in real conversation. You're training your mouth to move without panic. And then comes the final step. After listening and repeating, close everything and speak. Summarize what you heard. Explain it in your own words. Even if your summary is simple, even if you forget details, even if it's messy. That moment when you try to reconstruct the ideas without looking, that's when real learning happens. Because now your brain has to retrieve vocabulary, rebuild structure, organize thoughts, and produce language. That's conversation training. And here's something important. It will feel uncomfortable. Your summary won't sound as smooth as the podcast. You'll hesitate, you'll search for words. That discomfort, that's growth. Passive listening feels easy. Active reconstruction feels hard. But that hard is exactly what builds speaking ability. You don't need 2 hours. You need 10 minutes of focused listening, 5 minutes of intentional shadowing, 5 minutes of speaking. That's 20 minutes of deep, concentrated English, and 20 minutes of deep work is more powerful than 2 hours of distracted exposure. Over time, something changes. You stop feeling like English is something you hear. It becomes something you can shape. You start recognizing phrases faster. You borrow structures naturally. Your brain stops freezing as often because it has practiced retrieval under calm conditions. And slowly, conversation stops feeling like survival. It starts feeling like expression. And that's the goal. Not perfection, expression. There's something very important I need to tell you before we continue. Even if you start practicing this way, even if you do deep work, even if you repeat, shadow, and summarize, there will still be days when you feel like you're not improving. And that's normal, because deep learning is quiet. It doesn't always feel exciting. It doesn't always feel dramatic. Sometimes you finish your 20-minute session and you think, that's it? That didn't feel life-changing. But growth doesn't always feel powerful in the moment. Sometimes it feels subtle. Sometimes it feels almost invisible. And this is where many people quit. Not because the method doesn't work, but because the brain expects emotional reward immediately. We're used to fast results, fast feedback, instant proof. But conversation skills grow underground first. Before you speak more fluently, your brain reorganizes patterns. Before you hesitate less, your brain strengthens connections. Before you feel confident, your brain builds familiarity. And familiarity is quiet. Also, let's talk about frustration. You might practice deeply for a week, and then one day someone speaks too fast and you understand only half. Or you try to explain something complex and your words feel basic. That doesn't mean you went backwards. It means real life is unpredictable. Progress in language learning is not linear. It expands, contracts, stabilizes, and then expands again. If you expect a straight line, you'll feel disappointed. If you expect waves, you'll stay calm. And emotional calm is everything, because conversation anxiety doesn't disappear just because your vocabulary improves. Confidence is not just linguistic, it's emotional. So part of this journey is not just training your English, it's training your reaction to imperfection. When you hesitate, don't panic. When you forget a word, don't collapse. When you feel slow, don't dramatize it. Just observe. Continue. Return the next day. Deep work is powerful, but consistency is what makes it transform you, not intense weeks, steady months. And if you can accept that, if you can stop chasing dramatic improvement and start trusting quiet repetition, something shifts inside you. English stops feeling like a test and starts feeling like a skill you are slowly owning. And that's when real progress becomes sustainable. Before we finish, I want you to pause for a second. Not to think about grammar, not to think about pronunciation, just to think about yourself, about the version of you that decided to improve, because that decision matters more than you think. Learning English as a busy adult is not easy. You're not in school anymore. No one is forcing you. No one is giving you grades. No one is checking your homework. You're doing this because you want something better. Maybe you want better opportunities. Maybe you want to travel and feel free. Maybe you want to express your ideas without translating in your head. Maybe you're just tired of feeling small when conversations switch to English. Whatever your reason is, it's valid. And I need you to understand something very clearly. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not less intelligent because you hesitate. You are building a skill that takes time, exposure, emotional regulation, and repetition. And the fact that you're here, listening, practicing, trying again, that already separates you from the majority of people who wish they were fluent but never take action. Fluency is not about speaking perfectly. It's about speaking despite the imperfection. And the more you practice deeply, not passively, not distracted, not half-present, but deeply, the more your brain starts trusting you. Yes, trusting you. Because confidence doesn't appear when your English becomes perfect. Confidence appears when your brain realizes, I've done this before, I can do this again. That's why deep work matters. That's why intention matters. That's why showing up matters. Not because today's session changes everything, but because every session is a vote for the person you're becoming. And listen, there will be weeks when you feel motivated and powerful, and there will be weeks when you feel tired, distracted, maybe even a little disappointed. Both are normal. Don't romanticize motivation. Romanticize discipline that feels calm. Romanticize sitting down even when it's not exciting. Romanticize the quiet repetition that nobody sees. Because that's where fluency is born. Not in viral moments, not in dramatic breakthroughs, but in small, consistent, focused practice. So here's my invitation for you this week. Choose one podcast episode. Not 5, not 10. 1. Listen actively, pause it, repeat sentences, shadow the speaker, summarize out loud. Feel awkward if you need to, feel slow if you need to, but stay present. And then tomorrow, do it again. You don't need 2 hours. You don't need a perfect accent. You don't need talent. You need depth and patience and kindness with yourself. Because language learning is not just cognitive, it's emotional. And the moment you stop attacking yourself for not being there yet is the moment you actually start moving forward. Your English is not stuck, it's under construction, and construction is messy, but it's progress. I'm proud of you for committing to this process. Keep practicing deeply, keep showing up quietly, and I'll see you in the next episode.